November 11, 2012. A man is found on the floor of his beach house with a bullet in his skull. By dawn, police in Belize name a suspect. John McAfee, the millionaire who created the antivirus software once installed on half the world's computers. When officers arrive to question him, he's gone. What happens next sounds fictional. He fakes his own death twice, bribes his way out of a Guatemalan deportation cell hours before being sent back to Belize, escapes the FBI for 18 months on a yacht, taunting them on Twitter with photos and live locations. Every time they close in, he slips away. 3 countries issue warrants. Interpol joins the hunt. The U.S. government spends international resources chasing one man, and again he makes them look slow. This isn't just a fugitive story. It's a case study in how one person can humiliate the most powerful nation on earth and stay free for years. How does someone do that? And what really happens when he finally gets caught? The code that started it all in 1987, Silicon Valley. John McAfee, then a programmer at Lockheed, writes a small program, about a dozen lines of code, that will make him rich. Personal computers are exploding in popularity. So is a new threat, the brain virus, the first IBM PC virus, spreading through floppy disks like a digital disease. McAfee sees both panic and opportunity. In his spare time, he writes a detection tool and names it VirusScan. Within weeks, companies are calling him. Within months, he quits Lockheed to sell his software full-time. McAfee Associates is born out of the trunk of his car. His genius isn't just technical, it's psychological. In a 1989 interview, he warns that computer viruses could cause companies to near collapse from financial loss, amplifying public fear just enough to push desperate IT managers toward one solution: his. The strategy works. By 1990, roughly half the Fortune 100 are paying for McAfee antivirus. Revenue hits $5 million a year and starts doubling every 6 months. John McAfee becomes Silicon Valley royalty, the man who tamed the digital wilderness. But John hates the throne. Board meetings bore him. Quarterly earnings calls feel like prison. 1,000 bosses, he complains to friends, shareholders, regulators, lawyers, all demanding he behave. This is a man who was expelled from a PhD program after sleeping with a professor's daughter, was fired from an engineering job for showing up high on hallucinogens, once hid behind a dumpster in a drug-induced panic. He's the same maverick who hosted occult rituals and office sex contests at his company's headquarters purely to antagonize corporate norms. Corporate life is suffocating him. In 1993, he cashes out, sells his shares for around $100 million, and walks away from the empire bearing his name. He's 48 years old and on paper set for life. For a while he drifts, yoga retreats, ultralight aircraft, books on Eastern mysticism. Nothing sticks. Then 2008 hits. The financial crisis guts his portfolio. Estimates vary, but his net worth reportedly drops from 9 figures to around $4 million. The loss doesn't humble him. It hardens his worldview. He decides governments and institutions are parasites designed to drain individual freedom. "I'll never let the state own my life," he tells a reporter. He means it. Exile in Belize in 2009, John boards a plane to Belize. No extradition treaty with the U.S., no IRS, minimal rules. Just turquoise water, white sand, and the promise of maximum autonomy. He buys a beachside villa on Ambergris Cay, then a jungle compound near Orange Walk. He hires armed bodyguards, ex-cons, and local toughs. He builds a makeshift lab to research herbal antibiotics, claiming he'll cure superbugs with jungle plants. He surrounds himself with much younger girlfriends. He creates a small compound of loyalty, bound together by cash, favors, and fear. Locals whisper that the American millionaire is insane, dangerous, or both. By day, John flies his ultralight over the reef. By night, he throws bonfire parties where automatic weapons are laid out like party favors. He even starts a tiny pharmaceutical company, Corimex, to give his jungle experiments a veneer of legitimacy. To outsiders, he looks like an eccentric expat playing scientist. But something darker is fermenting. His old business paranoia, once an asset, is curdling into isolation and suspicion. He feuds with gangs over territory. He clashes with neighbors over noise and dogs. Belize, he will learn too late, is not a place where foreign millionaires write their own laws. The fuse is already lit. Quick break. Why privacy actually matters, sponsor style. Before we get to the explosion, it's worth asking, what turns a millionaire tech founder into a jungle warlord? And why does a man who built his career on protection end up accused of the opposite? McAfee understood something most people still ignore. Your digital life is watched constantly. Every search, every click, logged. That's where today's sponsor, Surfshark VPN, comes in. I spend hours digging into cases like this: fugitives, government operations, offshore havens, often through foreign databases and geo-blocked sources. Without a VPN, my ISP sees everything. Websites track location. And honestly, that's not the kind of browsing history you want sitting in plain view. Surfshark masks your IP, encrypts your connection, lets you appear virtually in other countries to access geo-restricted content, offers Surfshark Alert to monitor if your email or data appears in breaches. Go to surfshark.com/blackfiles or use code blackfiles at checkout to get an extended deal plus a 30-day money-back guarantee. Because if McAfee's life taught us anything, it's this: privacy isn't paranoia anymore. It's survival. The raid, April 30th, 2012. Belize's Gang Suppression Unit, GSU, hits McAfee's jungle compound with military precision. No warrant shown. Officers in tactical gear storm the property, line up McAfee, his girlfriend, and his staff against the wall at gunpoint. His 4 massive mastiffs, bred for aggression, charge the intruders. An officer shouts a warning. One dog keeps coming, growling. A shotgun blast drops the animal mid-stride. "You killed my F******ing dog," McAfee screams, eyes wild. They pin him face down in the dirt. For 6 hours, they tear through every building. They overturn lab equipment, seize rifles and pistols, bag bottles of chemicals McAfee insists are harmless antibiotic compounds. End result? No drugs. The only offense they can cite is possessing an unlicensed firearm, a paperwork violation. Nonetheless, they drag him to Belize City and throw him in the piss house, the central prison's holding tank. Named for the open sewer running through it, McAfee spends one night there. He bribes a guard $100 for a single cigarette. He uses a trash bag as a belt because they took his. He's released the next morning without formal charges. But something in him flips. From that day, John is convinced the government wants him dead. Is that paranoia? Maybe. Is it wrong? That's harder to answer. He starts sleeping with a Glock under his pillow. Tripwires and cameras sprout around the compound. To visitors, he rants about assassination plots, about cartels and corrupt cops working together. Belize's prime minister later calls him extremely paranoid, perhaps bonkers. John treats that like a compliment. Only the paranoid survive. The neighbor 50 yards away on Ambergris Cay, a quieter conflict is escalating. Gregory Faull, a 52-year-old expat from Florida, moves to Belize for peace and sunshine. Instead, he gets John McAfee for a neighbor. McAfee's pack of dogs roam the beach, barking all night, occasionally biting tourists. Faull files complaints with the mayor about noise and dangerous animals. He confronts McAfee directly. "Control your dogs or I'll take care of them myself." John refuses. He insists he needs them for security. The feud simmers for weeks. Then, November 9th, 2012, something breaks. That night, McAfee's dogs begin foaming at the mouth. One by one, 4 animals collapse and convulse. By dawn, they're dead poisoned. John is devastated, then enraged. He orders staff to shoot the dying dogs to end their suffering. He paces the compound with a pistol in hand, seething. Someone has sent a message. Maybe the cartels. Maybe the gringo neighbor who threatened them. 24 hours later, the island hears a single gunshot in the night. Some dismiss it as firecrackers or a car backfiring. Morning of Sunday, November 11th, a housekeeper finds Gregory Faull lying face up on his villa floor in a pool of blood. A single 9mm round through the back of his head, execution style. His laptop and phone are gone. An American murdered in paradise. Belizean police move quickly to question the volatile neighbor. When officers arrive at McAfee's property around noon, the gate is open and the house is empty. John saw them coming. He grabbed his girlfriend, Samantha, and vanished. By the time they knock on his door, he's already underground, literally. According to one of his own later stories, buried under sand with a cardboard box over his head, breathing through it while police search nearby. Belize names him a person of interest in Faull's murder. McAfee denies any involvement to this day. He is never formally charged with the killing. But in his mind, the line has been crossed. The man who once sold protection to millions is now a hunted suspect. And as far as John is concerned, he's at war with the government. The first escape, John doesn't run blind. He's been planning for months, mapping safe houses, cultivating contacts. People who can't be followed, he later boasts to a journalist. Within 6 hours of going underground, he and Samantha are moving through a web of hideouts in Belize. Abandoned warehouses, friends' homes, a fishing shack on a mangrove river. Police and soldiers deploy tracker dogs and helicopters. They set up roadblocks. They raid properties of anyone connected to him. John remains a ghost. If you're still here, hit that like button. It tells me you want more deep dives into people who outsmart systems built to catch them. And subscribe, because next week's subject makes even McAfee look almost tame. Day 3 on the run, holed up in a concrete bunker while police search a couple hundred yards away. John finds an old TV. He watches Swiss Family Robinson, the 1960 film about castaways building a fortress on a deserted island. He eats canned beans and laughs at the parallel. Maybe I should build a treehouse, he jokes to Samantha. But every hour he stays in Belize shrinks his odds of survival. Borders are tightening. Informants are whispering. He needs out. November 14, 2012, 3 days after Faull's body is found, McAfee slips onto a small fishing boat on Belize's southern coast under cover of darkness. He pays the captain around $2,000 cash for an illegal run into Guatemala. No passport stamps, no records. The boat kills its engine a mile offshore and drifts into Guatemalan waters. Around 3 a.m., they land on a deserted beach near Puerto Barrios. John and Samantha wade ashore and disappear inland. By sunrise, they're in Guatemala City, checking into the Villa Real Hotel under false names. For the first time in 72 hours, John exhales. He's escaped Belize. And he cannot resist the spotlight. The Vice photo that gave him away. With Faull's murder dominating headlines, John decides to seize control of the narrative. He contacts Vice magazine using encrypted email and offers exclusive access to the world's most wanted antivirus mogul. A Vice editor and photographer fly to Guatemala, track him down, and spend 2 days with him. John, now scruffy with a wild beard, grins for the camera, arms slung around the journalist. They publish photos and a triumphant post. "We are with John McAfee in Guatemala. We made it to safety." The story goes viral. McAfee feels untouchable. He is not. Within hours, a tech-savvy Twitter user posts, "John, I found you. Check your photos' EXIF data." The image that Vice uploaded still contains GPS metadata, the exact coordinates of his hotel. Every agency on Earth now knows precisely where he is. His media victory just turned into a catastrophic mistake. Guatemala. The fake heart attacks. December 5, 2012, 24 days after Faull's murder. Guatemalan police storm the Villa Real Hotel. McAfee is in the lobby talking to his lawyers when officers surround him. Cameras flash. He's hustled into custody. The charge, illegal entry. The consequence, rapid deportation to Belize. For John, returning to Belize is a death sentence, whether by prison, accident, or something darker. In his mind, he will not survive that handoff. The clock starts. December 6, 2012, 1 day after his arrest. Inside a detention cell, McAfee suddenly collapses, clutching his chest. "Mi corazón," he gasps. "My heart," he goes pale. Guards panic. An ambulance races him to a Guatemala City hospital. News breaks worldwide. John McAfee suffers 2 heart attacks in custody. The Guatemalan government, terrified of killing a famous American in their care, pauses the deportation process. Reporters crowd the hospital. McAfee lies on a gurney with oxygen tubes, grimacing theatrically for the cameras. 48 hours later, doctors announce he's stable and that tests show no actual heart damage. Elevated blood pressure, nothing more. John later admits he faked the episode hyperventilating, holding his breath, gaming his vitals, and selling the performance with near-Oscar-level drama. The stunt buys his legal team crucial days. They file emergency motions, tangle the bureaucracy. In the confusion, Guatemala quietly chooses an easier option. They deport John McAfee not to Belize, but to the United States, his country of citizenship. Because he entered Guatemala illegally from Belize, they can justify sending him back to his original nationality instead. John just used a loophole to checkmate an entire government. December 12, 2012, Miami International Airport. John McAfee shuffles off a plane, unshaven and rumpled, but grinning. He's outmaneuvered a regional manhunt, faked heart trouble, and turned certain deportation into a free ticket home. Federal agents question him briefly. With no U.S. charges yet filed relating to Belize, They have to let him go. John walks into the Florida sun and tells cameras, "It's good to be home." He has escaped Belize's reach. For now, celebrity fugitive January 2013, Portland, Oregon. McAfee marries Janice, a former Miami sex worker 3 decades younger than him, whom he met his first night back in the States. They try normal life in a rented condo. Morning coffee, park walks, streaming movies at night. 4 months in, he's climbing the walls. He returns to what he knows: provocation. He films a viral YouTube skit, "How to Uninstall McAfee Antivirus," a dark comedy where he appears surrounded by guns and scantily clad women snorting lines of bath salts while mocking the software that still bears his name. Millions watch. Next, he announces a 2016 presidential run under his own cyber party, later joining the Libertarian Party primaries. His platform: legalize drugs, abolish the IRS, encrypt everything. He polls at 0%, but the headlines roll in. John McAfee isn't living, he's performing. By 2018, he's found a new stage: cryptocurrency, Bitcoin, Ethereum, obscure altcoins. John declares them the future and declares himself prophet. And looking back from 2025, he wasn't entirely wrong. He moves onto a 75-foot yacht with satellite internet and an arsenal of firearms. Janice joins as first mate. Why a yacht? Because he knows what's coming. He hasn't filed a U.S. tax return since 2010, hasn't paid the IRS a cent in nearly a decade. Taxation is theft, he tells interviewers. The IRS is a criminal organization, he adds. The IRS predictably disagrees. January 2019, a federal grand jury in Tennessee secretly indicts John McAfee on multiple counts of tax evasion and failure to file. Penalties could mean decades behind bars. A source tips him off. Instead of surrendering, he fires up his yacht's engines and vanishes into the Caribbean. He posts a photo of himself on deck, rifle in hand. "Today, I left the U.S., I'm freer than ever." 18 months at sea, what follows is an 18-month cat and mouse game unique in modern fugitive history. McAfee hops by sea from country to country: Cuba, Dominican Republic, the Bahamas, possibly Venezuela and others. Every few days, a new harbor. Every few days, a new taunting tweet. He lives on cash and crypto, uses encrypted phones and VPNs, claims to employ body doubles and disguises. He posts photos with lookalikes and jokes that even seeing me doesn't mean you've seen me. Paranoia? Maybe, but also decent tradecraft. With his passport flagged, airports are off the table. One scan, and he's done. He relies instead on constant motion and constant publicity. In a paradox, fame becomes his shield. Governments prefer quiet arrests. John makes that impossible live, tweeting his supposed locations to hundreds of thousands of followers and giving phone interviews from undisclosed rooms. He dares the IRS to find him. In one stunt, he claims he's detained in Norway for wearing a women's thong as a mask. It's a prank. The photo was staged, but authorities around the world keep chasing phantoms. July 24, 2019, Puerto Plata, Dominican Republic. McAfee's yacht docks to refuel. Dominican authorities, alerted via Interpol, swarm the pier. They board, find multiple firearms and ammunition, and detain McAfee, Janice, and crew. It looks like the run is over. 4 days later, the Dominican government quietly releases them and expels McAfee to the UK instead of to the US. There are no charges. No one wants to inherit this circus. As the yacht sails away, John raises a glass. "Even when I'm arrested, I walk free. But the net is tightening." By late 2019, he's spending more time in Eastern Europe. He posts cryptic videos from anonymous apartments. "I've collected files on corruption in governments worldwide. If I go down, they all go down," he claims. Insurance policy or fantasy, it doesn't matter. In October 2020, he stops running. Spain, and the end. John and Janice rent an apartment near Barcelona, Spain. COVID travel restrictions limit options. Maybe he's simply tired. He ventures out sparingly. On October 3, 2020, he posts what will later be one of his last free tweets. On October 5th, he arrives at Barcelona's El Prat airport, reportedly to fly to Istanbul. At check-in, the passport scanner flags his name. Within minutes, Spanish police surround him. After years of yacht hopping and border slipping, McAfee is arrested at the request of the U.S. Department of Justice. The game, for once, seems truly over. June 23, 2021. Brian's 2 prison, near Barcelona. John McAfee, now 75, has been locked up for 8 months, awaiting a decision on extradition to the U.S. No guns, no gadgets, no quick exits. Just concrete and time. Through his lawyers, he still manages occasional tweets. In one he writes, "I am content here, I have friends. But know that if I hang myself, lay Epstein, it will be no fault of mine." The reference is obvious. Jeffrey Epstein, found dead in a U.S. jail in 2019. McAfee had even gotten a dollar-whacked tattoo months earlier, claiming he'd been warned of a plot against him. His followers log every word. To the public, he insists he will not kill himself. To Spanish courts, he insists the charges are political, that he's being targeted for attacking government overreach. The court is unmoved. U.S. prosecutors assemble their case. Multiple counts of tax evasion and failure to file separate fraud allegations tied to pump and dump crypto schemes that allegedly netted him millions. Given his age, a conviction could mean dying in an American prison. He reportedly tells at least one confidant he will not allow that to happen. At 1 p.m. on June 23, 2021, Spain's national court signs the order approving his extradition to the United States. Within the hour, the decision reaches the prison. John is informed he will likely be handed to U.S. Marshals within days. He calls Janice, "I love you. I'll call you this evening." The evening call never comes. Around 7 p.m., guards on rounds find John McAfee hanging from a bedsheet in his cell. Paramedics arrive quickly but pronounce him dead at 7:23 p.m. The official cause: suicide by hanging. He was 75 years old, caught at last but never tried. Aftermath and questions. For his supporters, the story doesn't end there. Janice insists he was not suicidal, that he was upbeat in their last call, and that the timing hours after the extradition order is just too convenient. Spanish authorities conduct an autopsy. Toxicology reports show no drugs. The cause of death is confirmed as asphyxiation consistent with hanging. The investigation closes as suicide. Online, conspiracy theories explode. Did he really have compromising files on powerful people? Was he silenced? Or, in one of the wilder theories, did he somehow fake his death and vanish one last time? The most tragic explanation is the simplest. The man who vowed never to be caged saw no exits left and chose the only remaining way to assert control. His body sat in a Spanish morgue for months while lawyers and heirs fought over his estate. Even in death, his story resisted neat closure. Here was a man who built an empire on fear, sold paranoia as a service, and then lived out that paranoia at full scale, hopscotching borders, mocking governments, turning his life into performance art. In a rare quiet moment he once said, "It's better to live one day as a lion than 1,000 years as a lamb." You can argue whether he lived as a lion or as a deeply broken man running from consequences. But you can't say he died quietly. If you want more stories of people who outplayed the systems hunting them, check out my previous video, The Man Who Outsmarted the NSA, where we dive into another fugitive who made federal agencies look like amateurs.